Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to segment number 2 here on Huda tonight. Brothers and sisters, I'm your host for the evening, Junaid Dar, and it gives me great pleasure to present these 2 episodes coming to you today. Brothers and sisters, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this a successful program, that will be on the scale of our good deeds and on the day of judgment. Brothers and sisters, we have a selection of topics today coming to you in segment number 2 and in segment number 3. First of all, we're going to be looking at a very important subject. But before I go into the subject, I want to remind you that our program is live. What does that mean? Brothers and sisters, our numbers are running across the screen, so you can call in and give us your questions, your comments, your queries, or anything that you would like to add. So please do call us. You see 2 numbers there, and you can pick from any one of the 2. And if you're outside of Egypt, then you would need to use the code, and the code for Egypt is 002. So please do call us, and we really look forward to your calls and look forward to your contributions to the program at the same time. Now, coming back to the topic, brothers and sisters, in segment number 2, we're going to be looking at 2 very important subjects. The first of which is related to the life of a student of knowledge. Now, many a times we as Muslims, brothers and sisters, can dedicate a number of years in the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, learning His beautiful faith, learning the Quran, learning the Sunnah. But then, once we finish our program, or we graduate, we face a number of different problems. Now, these problems can come in different forms, like what does this student of knowledge now do after investing 10 years or 8 years in his particular field when he goes back to his respective country? Does he take a normal job, a menial job where he will be working in simple jobs, or will he be welcomed to society? At times he might not give him the position that he deserves. So, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to be looking at the life of a student of knowledge, the etiquettes, the manners that he must carry, and at the same time, how society can cater and look after a student of knowledge. And then we will come back after the break and have a look at a very important topic, and that is a look into India and China. Now, why are we looking at these 2 countries? Because these 2 countries are growing at a very rapid pace, and they are becoming major players in the world. So we as Muslims across the globe need to analyze the development of these 2 countries and try to extract out lessons that we can use in our communities, in our countries, in order, inshallah ta'ala, for us to be successful and prosperous like these 2 nations. So let's begin with our very first topic and introduce our guests, and then go straight into the questions. So let's begin from the right-hand side. We have with us Sheikh Shabir, who is an active member in the Dawah community, and you have helped us very much here on Huda TV. I'd like to welcome you, Sheikh, to the program. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have with us our second guest. We have Brother Lukman, who has also been very active with Huda. And from what I understand, you are studying at Al-Azhar University, doing your master's there in the Faculty of Sharia. Yes. I'd like to welcome you to the program with the greetings of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Sheikh, let's begin, because this topic really, I want to discuss the etiquettes of a student, and at the same time, what a student does once he comes back after his study. So, if I can begin with yourself and ask you to tell us the importance of people going out and seeking Islamic knowledge.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, I think that, as the hadith of Anas bin Malik says that Rasulullah said that seeking knowledge is obligatory upon all Muslims, men, women, children. So the importance of knowledge, cannot be, stressed enough. I mean, the first, revelation to Rasulullah were also about knowledge, Iqra, and the Kalam. I think, we've done many programs on that, and we know, it is very, very important for a Muslim to know his deen, to learn. But then we have, people who go beyond the basic learning of your, about the basics of your deen, which is the scholars and students of knowledge of Islam, who spend probably a lifetime learning about the deen. The reason I feel it's a very important subject to talk about is that these people, after spending 20-25 years of their life learning about the deen, what is the prospect for them in life? Do our masajid, our madrasas, our universities, Islamic universities, have enough space to fit all of these students? I can give you examples from India, Pakistan. They have Dars Nizami,
Okay.
You know, which is a system that is taught to them, and they're just limited to that.
Right.
You know, when they graduate, they really are struggling because you cannot. There's literally hundreds of thousands of students graduating every year from Islamic schools, Islamic universities, but you cannot, they can't all become scholars and teach at universities and big schools. So I see literally millions and millions of these students of knowledge struggle throughout their life. So, you know, the important to me is that we can, that's a very important, you know, part of our community, our society, of these people who have spent a lifetime learning about their religion. And then these people, instead of having a good, dignified, respectable profession, job, and a place in society, they're often looked down upon.
Okay.
They're often, looked as, the misers, or people, who are always looking at somebody else's pocket.
Okay.
And I think that, we as a society we must provide some solutions for these issues. We have across the world, the Muslim world, we have this problem, this issue. People, after spending 20, 25 years, they don't have a job. They don't have a reasonable income out of this.
Right.
And the society, the governments across the board, they have no interest in looking at this and trying to provide some solutions. And this one solution that I am going to offer today with my little and limited knowledge and resources that I have, and I've seen it and I've tried it and I've asked, I've guided some of my friends who are learning this knowledge to, at the same time, even though the system is not there, but you go outside your school and your madrasa and your university and pick up some life skills.
Okay, sure. Before you give away the secrets and the solutions,
Inshallah.
we'll come back to that a little later,
Yeah.
inshallah. But before that, I want to bring in Brother Lukman. And the Sheikh mentioned a very beautiful hadith about knowledge being an obligation. طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. Can I ask you to tell us about the role of scholars? I mean, what's their reward in Islam?
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da, amma ba'd. The beautiful thing about our religion is that Islam is the religion of knowledge. As the Shaykh mentioned, that the first ayah that came to the Prophet was talking about knowledge, was talking about Iqra. So this is Ummatul Qira'ah, the Ummah of reading. So the reading is the key to any knowledge. If you want to become scholar, you have to read. So the first revelation that came to the Prophet was talking about knowledge. So it means that Islam is the religion that gives the special attention to the knowledge. So this ummah must be ummah that has a lot of knowledge. And also the Prophet ﷺ encouraged his companions to learn about the religion. If we are going back to the history, in the time of the battle of Badr, there was for about 70 mushrikin captured by Muslim. And the Prophet said to them, I can let you free, I can let them free on condition that they have to teach 10 Muslim how to write and read.
SubhanAllah.
Of course, in the time of the Prophet, most of the companions of the Prophet could not read and write. So the Prophet said, on condition you are going to teach 10 Muslim, you will be set free. So if you look at this history, you will notice how the Prophet gave the special attention to the knowledge. And also in the time of the Prophet, you know that there were some companions who were living in the Masjid Nabawi. They used to listen what the Prophet has been thought about the religion. What this group, what we call as Ashabu Sufa, one of the famous of Sahaba of this school is Abu Hurairah.
Okay.
So in the very beginning, the Prophet has been established the first school, the first madrasa in Islam. What does it mean? It means that Islam is the religion of knowledge. Islam is not religion of ignorance. Islam always encourage Muslim to learn any kind of science in which he is living.
Okay.
So this is why the scholar have the highest status in Islam. In fact, the Quran said, يَرْفَعِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ. Allah will raise the status of those who believe in Him,
okay,
and the status of those who have the knowledge.
Oh.
So if you look at these Quranic verses, you will notice that there are two conditions in which the person will get high status in Islam. The first, that he should have the knowledge, and the second, that he should have the belief. So knowledge and belief are correlating to each other. So how beautiful this religion. This religion, Islam, always encourage Muslim to learn, to know about something in this life. So, and also if you look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah never asked him to ask increasing about something except in the knowledge. In fact, Allah asked the Prophet to ask him to increase his knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran, وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي إِلْمًا, وَقُلْ, and say, O Muhammad, Rabbi, oh my Lord, zidni, increase in me, ilma, my knowledge. So the Prophet never asked anything besides the knowledge.
Excellent.
Okay, so if you look at all this, we will know that Islam always appreciates the status of scholars.
Excellent. It's very nice and very important, I feel, to highlight this fact that Islam is built upon knowledge, is not built upon ignorance, and we will not prosper as a community unless we come back to
yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Sheikh, I want to come back to some of the things that you were talking about when we talk about the importance of knowledge. And you mentioned some of the madaris in India and Pakistan, and you said they have many students, and at times, or every year when they graduate, they don't have jobs. So some may say to you, then why do we invest in sending so many students of knowledge? Why don't we just cut down and just send 10% of them so that they will have jobs?
I think the people don't realize that the knowledge is not just for few. The Islamic knowledge is for everybody.
Okay.
But where we getting messed up is this, that we think that we make it as a way of making a living out of it.
Okay.
That is where the problem comes. I think what we should do is that take pride in learning about your deen, learning the knowledge, but at the same time you must pick up a skill in that time. 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, you should expose these children to maybe number of, every school, every madrasa should have a skill center with 7, 8 different skills. So expose the kids to all these skills at the age of 7, 8, 9, and by the time they're 11, like in Europe, they will be able to choose one of these skills.
Okay.
So then give them maybe 3, 4 years to excel in that skill. So when they graduate, they're not relying on selling Islam. They're not relying on looking for a job in a madrasa or a masjid or a school. They really have a skill to make a living from, and then that's the only time they're going to be looking good and honorable and give ruling on Islam unbiased.
Okay.
Otherwise, they will be influenced. I see in my travel all over, every time an imam is asked about a fatwa, he is very careful in dishing out that fatwa that he's going to upset the masjid committee, he's going to upset his chairman, because his livelihood is depending on these people. This is where we've got the basics, our deen, we've got it wrong. you know, the imam of the biggest masjid in a city should be the deputy commissioner of that city, the commissioner of that city or that town. He should be the imam, and he should be dishing out the fatwas.
Okay.
You know, then he will not be influenced by committee or the chairman. We have big issues and big problems with our basic structure until and up to the time we value. My brother was talking about the reading and the books. Look at Islamic Spain.
Right.
At the height of the ruling of Muslim ruling in Spain, there was a library that had virtually every book available in the world were brought to Cordoba and translated into Arabic.
Okay.
Virtually every single book that was worth looking at and reading was translated, and it was a massive library. When the Muslims were pushed out of Spain, the Westerners took these books, translated them, and then put the library, burn it. And the Islamic library in Cordoba was burning for months. There were so many books. Because they translated the books that was worth translating into their languages, and then they said, put the rest to fire. This is where Muslims excelled in Spain because of the value of knowledge and the value of book. Okay. I was reading a column, about Pakistan, and somebody was lecturing some students, and he said, "How many books have you read this month?" And out of these 50 students that were present, not one of them put their hand up that they read a book. Now you tell me, what does that tell us about our societies? We don't have the value for the book anymore. We've forgotten the book. And Sheikh, may Allah bless South African Sheikh that died, the comparative studies Sheikh Ahmad Didat.
Right.
He once thousands of gathering in Birmingham in a big venue, and I attended, and he said, "Give me one reason why Muslims are downtrodden and down there today." And people in the audience gave many, many reasons. And you know what he said? He said, "I'll tell you why we're down there." He said, "Our religion was religion of Iqra, but today we're la Iqra." Isn't that right? Right. I think that, a book is a big teacher. You can learn literally thousands of years of experience of humanity through a book. But if we don't even touch a book, okay, we're not interested. We don't want to waste time reading.
But Sheikh, I think that many people now, mashallah, in our day and age, the youngsters are coming back to reading, even though we would like for them to read more. But I think the part where we really need to have a discussion more is the fact that once these people have read, what do we do with these people? And how can we best utilize these people? I think that,
there's a duty for, as an individual, these people, students' knowledge, I'm addressing students of knowledge now, that once they get to the age of 16, 17, 18, they must have their eyes wide open for other options and make choices for the lifeline skills.
Okay.
There's so many skills you can pick up.
Okay.
Today you can work from home. If you've got IT skills, good quality IT, everybody loves computers. If you've got good IT skills, I know so many people who are looking for people to work from home, and they pay me a living wage.
Okay.
So that's one, IT skills. Okay. You have many. You have plumbing. You have joinery.
Sheikh, we'll come back to each one of those in just a few moments. But before we do that, Brother Lukman, let's come back to what you were saying about the scholars and the students of knowledge. Now, these people who are going to come back to the communities as role models, as figures that people are going to look up to, must have some kind of etiquettes and qualities. Can I ask you to talk about these qualities and which ones you think are most important?
Okay. I think the student of knowledge should have a good manner. He should be a good example for his society. If you look at the Prophet is, the best teacher for this ummah.
Okay.
The Prophet is the good example for this ummah. And the Quran stated about his character, and Allah said, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You are, O Muhammad, the best example for this ummah. So if we know that the Prophet is the good example for this ummah, because the Prophet is, the Prophet has a good manner. And in another narration, Lady Aisha said, if you want to know the character, the manner of the Prophet, look at the Quran. If you know what the Quran is teaching, you will know the character or the good manner of the Prophet. So as a student of knowledge, we have to have a good character. We have to be a good example for this ummah, because the people will not look at what we are going to teach them, but the people will look at what we are doing. So we have to be a good example. So if we look at the first generation of this ummah, or we call them as Salafus Saleh, the first generation of this ummah, we find what Ibn Sirin is one of the famous of Tabi'in, the student of Sahaba. Ibn Sirin said, Kunna nata'allam al-huda kama nata'allam al-ilma. Kunna nata'allam al-huda. We used to learn etiquette. We used to learn adab. Kama nata'allam al-ilma. As we used to learn the knowledge. So if you look at what Ibn Sirin said, you will notice that Ibn Sirin learned etiquette before learning knowledge, because etiquette or manner is very important for the student of knowledge. The student of knowledge has to be a good example for his society.
Excellent.
So this is very important for us to understand that we, as a student of knowledge, we have to be a good example to this ummah. Practice what you preach. I mean, it is the famous statement that we very often listen to.
Brother Lukman, I would like to ask you for some of these qualities. But before I do that, I want to come to the Sheikh. Sheikh, I want to ask you now, so these students now, let's put a scenario together.
Yes.
They've come back to their respective countries, be that to the UK or America or Europe, whatever it is. What should they do now?
Well, this is where the problem is, because they don't have any skills, any qualifications to fit in to mainstream society. This is the big issue that, now in the Western world as well, because I see a lot of people who are good practicing Muslims, but they rely on state. They go and sign on. It's very undignifying way of just drawing your living from the government, and a lot of them justify it, which is, to me, it really amazes me as to how they justify having a bottom hand. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says, says, the upper hand is always better than the bottom.
Of course.
We should make, rather than making contributions into taxation, into the welfare, we're always taking. And I see literally thousands and thousands of brothers, who have, mashallah, good education, Islamic education, but they're always, taking from the state.
Right.
And because they're not picked up any skills. And we're talking about, the Brother Lukman was talking about Sahaba Sufa. Now we talk about, Sahaba Sufa, but these people, they stayed without food for many, many, many days.
They didn't have any job.
They didn't have any job, they didn't have any work, but they were exemplary. We may have a few people like that, but they will never look at your pocket. They will never look at your hand to give them something. They never even look for food. People give them food. They have food, alhamdulillah. They don't have it, they stay with sabr and shukr. They never ever beg to anybody for food. They rather stay hungry without it than asking somebody for it. We cannot be. We all cannot be like that. It's very important that these institutes. I mean, Al-Azhar, their system here is really fantastic, because they don't have a separate system where you just teach you deen. They actually teach you in schools, which I really am fascinated about this. They had a fantastic program. Where it's gone wrong, I don't know. I really need to look more into it. They make sure by the age of 11 you memorize whole of Quran in Al-Azhar schools. Yeah, and they also make sure that you have Arabic language, Fusa, the language of Quran. So that's a fantastic start. But at the same time, by the age of 11, they expect you to also study 8, 9, or 10 other subjects. That is how Islamic studies and education should be structured.
Okay.
So you have you have 8, 9 different subjects, and then the most important ones, the Quran and the Arabic. And then out of these 9 subjects, you're bound to pick up one skill, become an engineer, become a doctor. But not everybody can become can be so academically smart and become a doctor and an engineer or a solicitor. Some of these people may be good with their hands. So that from the age of 11, they should be given that choice. Like I said before, they should be given this choice to learn these skills. Look, I travel in Muslim countries. The tiling in the bathroom are very poor because there's no skills, plumbing skills. The pipes are stuck everywhere. I see the beautiful masjid here in Madinat Nasr, beautiful masjid, marble tiled. And then when they put the new air conditioner on, the person comes and makes a hole in this marble, and he makes a mess of it because he has no skills how to make a proper, neat, smart hole to put a pipe through so it looks neat. So the thousands and thousands of dollars spent on this beautiful marble to put in this masjid, it's got a very ugly hole around it because the skills are not there. That's just one skill. You talk about plumbing, you talk about electrician. It's so poorly done. The wires hanging everywhere and also not very safe. So there's so many skills, like health and safety skills. You can pick them up. But in the Islamic world, we don't take pride. Just look at the Alhambra Palace. I don't know whether you've ever been or not, but this is going back to Spain again, and India and Pakistan and old buildings in Cairo. These guys here in Egypt, they're from 3,000 years, 2,000 years. Even pyramids when they were built 7,000 years or whatever, how long ago, they've actually gone backward from there.
Okay.
I went to a beautiful masjid in Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa, in the area of Aisha Siddiqa, and this mosque was built almost 700 years ago.
SubhanAllah.
And you see some of the skills that have gone into building this masjid. I thought, what's gone wrong with Egyptians? They had these skills 700 years ago to build something, a masterpiece, something so beautiful. And today you look at the modern buildings, they look a mess because the skills are not there. So these same people, you see the problem when you get to 18, 19, 20, 22, when you graduate from a University of Azhar or any other university, it's too late to pick up skills then.
Right.
You see? So really skills must be concentrated and learned at the age of 10, 11, that a student should choose one of the skills, and then one of the etiquettes of student of knowledge is that he should excel in that.
Okay, excellent. On that note,
Excellent.
We're going to go to Brother Lukman, and I would like for you to tell me the very first etiquette that a student of knowledge must have in order for him to be a good role model.
I think the best and the most important etiquette that the student of knowledge should have is sincerity, or having ikhlas.
Okay.
So what do we mean by having ikhlas, by having sincerity? When a student of knowledge is seeking knowledge, he should have a good attention that this knowledge is dedicated to Allah. This knowledge is dedicated for the sake of Allah. So the student of knowledge should realize that the knowledge that he is seeking is for Allah, and then for benefit for this ummah.
Okay.
So if we look at the importance of niyyah, the importance of having ikhlas in Islam, we have the famous hadith that is talking about the importance of having niyyah, having sincerity. The Prophet said, "Innamal a'malu binniyat." Action are by attention.
Okay.
Wa innama likulli imri'in ma nawa, and for every person he just get what he intended. So if you look at this hadith is very important in our religion. In fact, many scholars in the past, they encourage anyone who want to write any book, he should start his book by this hadith.
Right.
And they used to say in the past, "Man arada ayyusannifa kitaban falyabda bihadal hadith." Whoever wants to author any book, he should start this hadith in the first chapter of this book. What does it mean? It means that when someone reads any book and then he will get that this hadith is put in the first chapter of the book, he will realize that we are seeking the knowledge, and then we have to have sincerity, we have to have niyyah.
Okay.
And as a student of knowledge, we should renew our niyyah, because niyyah is, always changes. So we have to renew, we have to revive our niyyah every time. We should, dedicate the knowledge that we are seeking, that we are studying for the sake of Allah only. So the first etiquette that a student of knowledge should have is having sincerity, having a niyyah for the sake of Allah only.
Okay, thank you very much. Sheikh, can I ask you to give us another quality, like you mentioned one prior to Brother Lukman, about the student perfecting or doing well and excellence.
Study with ihsan.
Ihsan. Okay, can I ask you to give us some insight into this?
Well, I think we cannot be perfect, but we should excel. We should be excellent at what we do.
Okay.
It's very important. Whatever you do it well. And you should use all the cutting-edge technology, the latest, knowledge available to upgrade your skills.
Okay.
Like we were just talking about drilling a hole in the wall. There is a beautiful science to drill in a hole through even marble tiles. That it'll be neat, it'll be clean, and it will not damage your tiles. Likewise, every knowledge that you learn, you go to the latest technology and knowledge available, and this comes from books, but experience of other people.
Okay.
So you've got to gain and tap into the experience of other people. And then, having done that, the next, also the etiquette of student of knowledge is to have tawakkul.
Right.
In Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think it's very important that without the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are nothing. We can't. And we should always make sure, look at ourselves. When we make mistakes, we sin, we should repent.
Okay.
That's another very, very, because I see in my life every day, people who are excellent at something, all of a sudden they become no good. Why? Because they've sinned. They had a sin of another. They looked at something they shouldn't do, and then their mind's not working properly. Because there's a hadith, there's a saying of Imam Shafi rahmatullah, one of his students, that he couldn't memorize Quran. He was so good at it, excellent, and then one day he couldn't do it, and then he asked him, and he said, well, he looked at something he shouldn't supposed to.
Right.
So I think it's very important that that we have amongst all these etiquettes is also another one is the respect for the teacher.
Okay.
Respect for your teacher, whoever you're getting knowledge from. You must show your utmost respect for him.
Okay.
And it's very important that that we are gaining the knowledge of Deen from this person. And if you don't have any respect, I'll give you some examples of Chinese respecting the teacher.
Okay.
It actually makes you highly successful. And a lot of people think that it's being a teacher's pet is unfashionable.
Okay.
But I have seen teachers' pets go a long way in life.
And hopefully in our next part you're going to be talking about China and India, so inshallah you can delve in that further. Brother Lukman, can I ask you to give us another etiquette or a quality that a student of knowledge should have?
I think one of the important etiquettes that a student of knowledge have is also having taqwa.
Okay.
Having taqwa is very important for a student of knowledge. Having taqwa or God consciousness, we as students of knowledge have to have taqwa. And if you look at the Quran, for instance, Allah said, "Innama yakhshallaha min ibadihi al-ulama." The most person who is fearing to Allah is the scholar. So the scholar are the people who fear Allah more.
Okay.
So because the scholar, of course, has close relationship to Allah. And also the Quran said, for instance, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ. You have to have taqwa, and then Allah will teach you.
Okay.
As long as you don't have taqwa, you will not gain any knowledge. You will not have any knowledge. For instance, as the Sheikh said, we as students of knowledge should clean our heart from any sin. If you look at the story of the Al-Imam Al-Shafi'i, for instance, Al-Imam Al-Shafi'i used to get difficult in his memorization, and then he came to his teacher. His teacher is Waqi, the famous scholar of hadith. As you know that Imam Shafi'i actually is not the scholar of fiqh, of Islamic jurisprudence, but also he is, the poet, someone who have memorized many Arabic poetries, and also he can compose beautiful poetry. He used to say, "Shakautu ila waki'in su'a hifdi, fa'arshadani ila tarkil ma'asi, wa akhbarani bi anna ilma nurun, wa nurullahi la yuhda aw la yu'ta lil asi." I have complained about my badness in memorization, and then my teacher tell me in order that I don't do any sin, and then he tell me that the knowledge is the light, and the light of Allah will not be given to any someone who does sin. So if we look at this poetry, we will know that Imam Shafi'i, the most clever scholar in Islam, he used to avoid knowledge, to avoid, doing any sin in order to get a good memorization. So we as a student of knowledge should clean our heart from any kind of sin. So I think to have taqwa is very important for us as a student of knowledge.
Excellent, thank you very much. Sheikh, we're coming towards the end of this particular part, but before we do give it a conclusion, I want you to talk about the role of the society. So when we go back now to our countries and we have students of knowledge, how should the society treat them and welcome them, and what's their responsibility towards these students?
Well, I think that, I quote a book, Qudwatullah Shahab, one of the Pakistani diplomats. He wrote a book, Shahabnama, and in that he said that the role of scholars today, in whatever shape and form the Islam is left in us, it is down to the scholars.
Okay.
We must not, underestimate the role of scholars. No matter whatever shape and form they are, how poorly equipped they are, the Islam that lives today is through your scholars.
Okay.
So we have to appreciate them, we have to respect them, value them, and also help them. But the problem is that today, the money talks. So if a person, no matter how much knowledge and hikmah he has, if he hasn't got the money, then he's looked down upon. But we have to, in the societies that we live in, we must firstly respect the knowledge, and especially the knowledge of Islam. And whoever has this knowledge, we should give them as much help as we can, even though until the system changes, where these people pick up skills to make a living, so they can, society can look up to them. At the moment, society looks down on them, which should be cut out.
But Sheikh, my rebuttal to that would be that these people have spent many years in studying Islam, and they've learned the science of Arabic and the science of Quran, and this is a skill.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when they go back to their communities, they get on minimum wage, and the centers give them absolutely minimal earnings. So shouldn't there be some kind of a community or an institute that actually pays these people sufficient amount so they can dedicate themselves to solving the community's problems?
Well, let me tell you, these same institutes that you're talking about, I know so many of them. The masjid committees and groups and people who are running these masajid, there's more than 2,000 in Britain, just England. They're sitting on hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds in bank, but they're paying their imam miserly. And then that imam resorts to illegal means, either to get from government or to get from people.
Okay.
You know, so these people, these very people that, you know, you're talking about, that they should provide a decent living wage.
Okay.
You know, because, you know, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. And this is why these scholars then don't work with their heart and mind,
Okay.
you know, to the job. Even though they have skills, they have knowledge, but that skill and knowledge is not transferred into children. I know one masjid where, you know, there's almost 80 students are taught within 2 hours Quran by one Hafiz, one Imam. You know, how can you expect that job to be well done, to be done right, no matter how skillful this person is? What it is that we don't bring logic into running our masajid and communities.
Okay.
You know, we need to do it in an ethical, smart way. I give you examples. Some of the communities that are doing well is like Bosnians and Somali communities in Western world, because they are putting more efforts and resources. They're putting more money into it. You know, their imams, there's, you know, majority of them, I'm not saying all of them, they are well paid.
Okay.
And they're having much better results. So we can learn from that.
Okay, excellent. Unfortunately, brothers, we have come to the end of this particular part of the program, but it's been a very good discussion. We looked at the two different angles here. We're looking at the etiquettes and the mannerisms of the student, and at the same time looking at the reality or the practicality of what these people are going to face once they complete their studies. So like Sheikh Shabir, we're going to take a break, and then I will see you and everyone else will see you after the break talking about India and China.
Inshallah.
And Brother Lukman, I'd like to thank you very much for coming to the program. We appreciate your contributions all the time, and inshallah ta'ala, we will see you on another program.
You are welcome. You are welcome.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to conclude by saying Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much. Brothers and sisters, we're going to move over and watch a very short report. And then when we come back, inshallah, you'll see myself and Sheikh Shabir talking about India and China. So let's have a look at this very short report.